Hey everybody, it is Rick and I'm here with December week 1 reviews. One physical title to talk about, a Paramount Plus title to talk about, a Disney Plus title, a couple HBO Max films, a Netflix film, a movie we saw in movie theaters, most of which everything in this video is a new release except for the Blu-ray that we're going to talk about first. This was a Christmas film I've been wanting to revisit, and finally decided to pop it in the other day, and that was weird English. That was a very Harold and Kumar Christmas. Been a while since I've watched this. Didn't get to see this one in theaters. Saw it when it came to physical media, and then haven't pretty much watched it since. So wanted to revisit. They really focused heavy. This was a 3D movie when it was in theaters. There's a 3D Blu-ray as well. They really pushed the 3D element of the movie a bit too heavy a lot of the time, like way over the top 3D. Took me out of the movie. Like, it was very forced, I guess I'll say, especially in the beginning. The second act hits and the movie, you get more into the plot. The movie gets rolling. A lot less 3D stuff, although it's still prevalent throughout the movie. A fun R-rated comedy. I personally would rather watch something like Bad Santa or The Night Before, Office Christmas Party upon like a rewatch for an R-rated comedy Christmas movie. Some of the humor also doesn't hit quite as well for me 10 years after this one came out. So it's still a fun watch. I enjoy Harold and Kumar's characters. This gets a 3 out of 5 for me. Harold and Kumar. Very Harold and Kumar Christmas. So that is it for physical media. Let's get into all the newer streaming service movies we watched and the theatrical movie. And apparently I have 3.5 pages worth of notes for these movies. So hopefully this video isn't too long, too much rambling. This is video number 7 that I'm recording today. So let's dive in. The next thing we checked out was a movie called Queen Pins, which is a Paramount Plus exclusive, but it's also available on Showtime. I remember seeing the trailer for this, based on a true story. Kristen Bell. It basically talks about a true story of a woman who decided to scam with coupons. I actually went through a phase back like when RJ was first born, where I was doing like extreme couponing. I would get like free soaps and deodorants and like cereal for a quarter. Like, I was really into the couponing because I was trying to save money back then and try to be, like very frugal, if you will. And the problem was a lot of the stores changed their rules because shows like Extreme Couponers became so popular, and there were so many loopholes and doubling of coupons, and there were message boards I was part of. It was pretty crazy. So this movie kind of takes place around the same time. Kristen Bell's character has a stockpile, which is a very common thing in the extreme couponing game. People have rooms in their house with like plastic shelving with more cereal that they'll eat in a year, more soda they'll drink in a lifetime, enough laundry detergent to clean their clothes every day for months. But they all say, well, I got all this for like $80 and it's like $10,000 in value. That's the way a lot of them, had the mind frame. So the movie kept me interested throughout. I was intrigued because I enjoy the topic. The lack of humor from Kristen Bell and the other lead actress really hurt this movie. However, Paul Walter Hauser, who plays a loss prevention specialist, was the highlight of the movie. Also, Vince Vaughn gets involved as well as a postal inspector, which was pretty funny. Paul Walter Hauser becomes like obsessed with this case, loses sleep over it. It's all he focuses on. So I kind of wish they would have gotten more into the stockpile mentality of the couponer. I think that would have made for a quirky like comedy aspect of the movie. But it was more about the schemes that were going on and how it escalated. Still an interesting story. Crazy it's based on a true story. I give Queen Pins a 3 out of 5. An interesting one-time watch. A fun one-time watch for sure. Next up is a movie that most people seem to hate. There are lots of half-star reviews on Letterboxd for this one. I think people were a little rough with it, personally. We checked out the Disney Plus Home Sweet Home Alone. I've only seen the first two Home Alone movies. I never watched 3, 4, and 5. So this one is fun because there are ties to the original movie, the original two movies. Lots of nods to the originals, and some of them hit well. Some of them were a little, eh. I like how they explain where Kevin's at now, Macaulay Culkin's character. That's pretty fun. I think my biggest issue with this movie, and maybe it's a little me thinking too hard about it, is the villains in the film. Ellie Kemper and Rob Delaney are not bad people. So the fact that they're the villains in this movie and you're not rooting against them makes it tough, where it's not like Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci, who are criminals in the originals, bad people. I actually feel for Ellie Kemper and Rob Delaney's character, and I actually dislike the little boy in this movie. So I guess that is a big issue with it, and maybe that's why people didn't like it, because the little kid is not very likable in my opinion. He plays Max. So that's a big problem, because you're watching a movie where you're rooting against the little kid played by Archie Yates, and you're cheering on the bad guys in a way, because they're not really bad. You're actually rooting for them. So with all that being said, it's a fun holiday film for the family. It's not great. It's not terrible. I give it a 2.5 out of 5, right in the middle there. It is mediocrity at its finest, in my opinion. So, however, what wasn't mediocre was the movie we saw in theaters, the movie that everybody and their mother was talking about, telling me how great it was. I tried to ignore everybody because I wanted to go in with an open mind. That is Ghostbusters Afterlife, and this movie blew me away. Not only my nostalgia for Ghostbusters, growing up watching the original two films, the way it pulls at the heartstrings with Harold Ramis and his family being the main characters of the film, you know, McKenna Grace and Carrie Coon plays his daughter, and then the kid is Stranger Things. I can't think of his name. I can't think of his name. This curly-haired kid. I'm going to put a picture right here. His name's going to be big. I can't think of his name. Man, I can't believe I don't mention him at all. Anyway, the heartstrings pulled at pretty heavily. The movie's 2 hours and 5 minutes. The pacing is so well done in the film. It is just a fun ride from beginning to end. McKenna Grace was amazing as Phoebe, the lead. I loved her science jokes. I loved her interactions with a friend she makes in school. The heart she displayed as the lead character of this film, basically putting a franchise not solely on her shoulders, but a 37-year-old franchise, and she just becomes so lovable and comes to life as Phoebe on the screen. Amazing. So the last 15 minutes, I can't even get into because I don't want to give spoilers, but the tears were flowing for sure from my eyes. Just so well done. The action in the movie is so much fun. The mini Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the trailers, so much fun. We haven't even talked about Paul Rudd in this movie, who was great as, what's his name, Gruberson, the substitute science teacher who's obsessed with horror movies and earthquakes. Just a lot of fun, and nods to the original movie that I really liked. A particular line in the third act that I was like freaking out when they said it. I'm not going to spoil that, but a particular line, I was like, yes, because I always quote the original line from the first movie. And Podcast, played by Logan Kim, was really good as Phoebe's friend in the movie. I really liked his character and how he'd always like carry around a microphone and ask people random questions and talk about his podcast that he records all the time. And, you know, I can't wait to get the movie on 4K. I will revisit this as soon as it comes to physical media. I loved it so much. A 4.5 out of 5. I mean, this movie was so much fun. I really loved it. So Ghostbusters Afterlife, well done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So fun. Next up, another nostalgic movie, 8-Bit Christmas. This movie was nostalgic because it takes place in the late 80s when I was a kid. Not quite as old as the kids in the movie who were like 11, 12. I would have been like 4 or 5, but still grew up in the time. So a lot of the humor in this movie, a lot of the references and jokes, they hit well because it was how it was in the movie. Neil Patrick Harris is basically playing modern day self. Not his modern day self. He's playing a dad who's telling his daughter the story of Nintendo, and that's fueled because they're waiting at his parents' house for them to get home, and he opens up the cabinet and the Nintendo's there. He starts telling his daughter the story about it, and it basically goes back in time, and he tells the story, narrates the story of his childhood. Like I said, the movie nails so many aspects of the late 80s so well. Cabbage Patch Kids, sports cards, playing King of the Mountain, fashion, not wearing a helmet when you ride your bike, maybe seatbelts in cars, wearing goggles with power tools, like just so many things. And then he would tell his daughter, oh yeah, we had helmets on. And it was just like certain things with fashion and how like things were different back then than it is now. It just all hit so well. I had been given serious warning about this movie that it gave off really strong A Christmas Story vibes, and that scared me because I hate the movie A Christmas Story. I've watched it once, will not watch it again. I think it's probably one of the most overrated movies of all time, personally. I am a Christmas Vacation purist. That is the best Christmas movie of all time. Fight me. And that was aggressive, sorry. So this movie, a lot of fun. I feel like the group of kids that were his friends represented well. There was the kid who gets everything, and like nobody really likes him, but they all want to hang out with him because he has all the newest stuff. There's the twins who share all the gifts they get because they get half the gifts. There's the habitual liar who exaggerates everything so that people would like him, but nobody believes him. It was just it was a fun family movie, a little bit sad in parts. I'm not going to get into that, but a fun watch, a really fun third act for sure. I gave 8-Bit Christmas a 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Next up, we watched Tick, Tick, Boom on Netflix. Going into this movie, wasn't really familiar at all with the life or work of Jonathan Larson. Jonathan Larson was a playwright, Broadway creator who made the play Tick, Tick, Boom, as well as Rent. The movie is basically based on him getting ready to turn 30. He's been trying to finish a show that he's worked on for the last 8 years. It's become like the focus in his life. He works at a diner to try to make ends meet, but wants to live in New York City where everything happens. Andrew Garfield is the lead. He plays Jonathan Larson. Didn't know that Andrew Garfield was a singer. He does quite a fantastic job coming alive as Jonathan Larson, especially seeing like photos and clips of Jonathan Larson. Since then, he does a really good job portraying the role. I had to Google a few scenes afterwards because there's a lot of cameos by Broadway alums and important people in Broadway. Didn't pick up on it. I kind of figured the way the one scene was shot in a diner, and I recognized people that were in Hamilton, that there was probably other famous people in there, and there were quite a few throughout the movie, important to Broadway. Like I said, this movie was a love letter to Broadway. One of Larson's biggest influences was Stephen Sondheim, so watching this only like a week or two after Sondheim's passing was a bit depressing and sad. He actually has a cameo in the movie as a voice on a voicemail. That was actually Stephen Sondheim. Bradley Whitford portrays Stephen Sondheim in the film, which is kind of cool to see. It was the directorial debut of Lin-Manuel Miranda, who I thought did a fantastic job. The movie was highly entertaining. Definitely, this movie is a love letter to Broadway, a love letter to Larson's career. I gave Tick, Tick, Boom a 4 out of 5. Definitely would recommend checking this one out if you have access to Netflix and are a fan of musicals. Just almost a biopic in a way, but I don't want to spoil anything. So, the last movie we watched the first week of December was available on HBO Max. Day and date is the last day and date release, except for Matrix that's coming out or has come out when this video drops. Probably not something I'll watch personally. I'm not a fan of the first Matrix movie. Never saw the second and third. But this was going to be the last day and date 2021 HBO Max movie, Warner Brothers movie I was going to watch. And that is King Richard, which stars Will Smith playing Richard Williams, father of Venus and Serena, two of the most famous female tennis players ever. He is fantastic in the lead performance. I was a bit distracted when I heard how Will Smith was portraying the character, but then in the credits, they showed you how Richard Williams talked, and I think he did a pretty good job imitating, embracing the character that was Richard Williams. I was a bit worried going in because of a nearly 2.5 hour runtime about a dad of two future tennis stars, but the pacing was actually very well done. I was interested throughout to see, like, it basically tackles Venus and Serena in their early, like 10, 11 years old and into the start of Venus's pro career, and I'll leave it at that. I didn't know much about the background and how they got started, so it was all kind of fresh information to me and just a very well done story. The father really wanted them to, he had 5 daughters. He wanted them to all be well educated. He really believed that Venus and Serena were going to be pro tennis players. Even at 8 and 9 years old, he thought they were going to be stars. And it showed the upbringing, 5 sisters sharing 1 bedroom in a house, the mom working multiple jobs to make ends meet, the dad pretty much never sleeping seemingly in the movie because he's either working or training his daughters, and just a really entertaining movie. I found it to be interesting. The ending's a bit anticlimactic, but unless you want the movie to be like 4 or 5 hours long, it encapsulates a certain point of time, a certain story, and I thought it was really enjoyable. So I gave King Richard a 4 out of 5. And that is it, guys. That is everything we watched the first week of December. I'm recording this on the 11th of December. We're into 2022 when this drops, so hopefully everybody's having a great 2022 so far. I'm going to continue to watch movies and talk about them. If you guys didn't, go back and watch the video with the channel update for 2022 that I released on the 1st. Lots of information about the channel and the future of it. So thank you guys as always for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you don't do so already. Hit the bell notification. Go to the description box down below for links to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, where I rate and review all the movies I watch, my eBay store, Amazon wishlist, Blu-ray.com profile, email, P.O. Box, all can be found down below. That is it, guys. So as always, until next time, who's down to movie?